Greetings in the name of Yahweh, the only name under heaven, given among men whereby we must be saved. This Brother Arnold, I want to make a real short video on the day of the new moon. It's so important. If you don't know what a biblical day of the new moon is, you can't keep his feast. You can't keep his Sabbaths. You might hit on them every now and then, but hit and miss, I believe we should know for sure when it is. But anyhow, when I say the day of the new moon, I'm talking about the day of the new moon. What do you mean the day of the new moon? You got to remember that a new moon is a lunar event. It's very important. Most people won't even look up the definition of new moon, which simply means to be new. In other words, it starts rebuilding again. Immediately after the old moon goes away. It's important to know that. And day of the new moon, day is a solar event. You know, you have morning, evening, evening, morning, day and night, so forth, every approximately 24 hours. Well, a lunar event is approximately every 29 and a half days. And they're not in sync one with another. This is why Julius Caesar and a man named Socrates thought they could make a better calendar, and they just made a strictly solar only calendar, which will work for commercial reasons, but not for keeping feast days. Now let me tell it real plain, because I'm going to tell it so plain that a fool or a wayfaring man won't err therein. It's hidden in simplicity, as many things are. When it says in Ezekiel 46:1, the gates of his house that looketh toward the east, that's where you see the sun in late in the evening, you can see that last sliver. But anyhow, I won't go into that. I won't make this thing hard. You can go to my website when I get through. But it says they shall be shut. The gates shall be shut the 6 working days, but open on the Sabbath and in the day of the new moon. In other words, the weekly Sabbath is a 24-hour day approximately, and the day of the new moon is a 24-hour day. It's, again, they're worship days, and the 6 working days are not worship days. That's 8 days total. Every month, you'll have an old moon end, and a new one will begin. The definition, it'll become new. And it'll do it in a solar day. And whatever solar day, I would say read my lips, but I don't know if you can. But every month, the moon will go black and it'll start rebuilding. You won't be able to see it because at that point, it's called conjunction, it's right in front of the sun. But whatever day that happens in, now listen carefully, is the day of the new moon. The old one end and the new one begin. It's that simple. Look up the definition of new moon and look up the definition of day if you have to. It can be 12 hours in a burning, or in a broader definition, 24 hours. Like in creation. You'll have light and darkness. But anyhow, I won't get off my thought here. I just want to tell you real plain that the day of the new moon is the day that the moon becomes new in. And you count from that day. The new moon may become new at 12 o'clock during the day. And it may become new at 12 o'clock during the night. Whatever day it happens in is the day of the new moon. The old one ends and the new one begins. And you count that day as a whole. Let's say if it happened at 12 o'clock during the day. Well, you would know beforehand when it was going to happen. Like Jonathan and David said, tomorrow is the new moon. They knew. So they would start that evening and keep it. Just like the crucifixion. The day of the crucifixion is on the 14th day of the moon. Well, it starts on the 13th day at evening and goes to the 14th day at evening. And that way you commemorate that whole day of the crucifixion, even though the crucifixion may not have happened to, say, around 3 o'clock. It's still the day of the crucifixion. The day of anything is the day of it. And if I'm going too fast, you can stop and meditate on what I'm saying. There's nothing else to even consider. Nothing. Nothing else to consider. History teaches it. Science teaches it. And the Bible teaches it. So, the day of the new moon or the day of anything, Solomon said, indicate that the day of one's death is better than the day of one's birth. Man that may have not died until 12 o'clock, still the day of his death. Man may not have been born until 1 o'clock, still the day of his birth. You don't wait till the next day to celebrate it. And this can be applied to anything. The day of something is the day of it. Now, you remember, a lunar event and a solar event. And whatever day that lunar event, the old moon ends and the new moon begins, is the day of the new moon. It's just that simple. It's things hidden in simplicity. If you don't have it right, you'll miss your Sabbaths, you'll miss feast days, you'll miss your appointed times. You say, well, Brother Arnold, it says observe the month of Abib. And it uses the word for new moon. But it's not talking about the first day of the new moon. This is something else you need to know. That word Kodesh, or the word for new moon, the first day of the month, is the same identical word for month in general. An example comes to me, the ark rested on the 17th day of the month, it says. Well, that's the same word for new moon. Same word. You say, well, it says observe. That word observe does not necessarily mean you are seeing something. It means guard. Look it up. Look up observe. It's the same word where it says observe the law. You guard it to do it. So you observe that month of Abib. It's the month of young tender ears or green ears of barley. So they'll twist them scriptures to try to make you think that you got to see something. The Bible said the just shall walk by faith and not by sight. We know it's there. It was taught in the schools back during the time of the Messiah. Philo records it in the Colson translation. He said the day of the new moon was accurately taught in the schools. There's a reason for that. They teach our children how to tell time. They taught them true time. True time is by the great lights. But anyhow, if you could just remember that and count from there, because see, if it happens anywhere in the day, it's counted as a whole. It's called inclusive reckoning. Even though that day that he was crucified in, say at 3 o'clock, you want to commemorate that day, you'll start the evening before. And you count that whole day as the day of his crucifixion. When the moon dies out and a new one's born, that's the day of the new moon. You count that whole day. You know when it's going to be. And you count it. But anyhow, I just thought I'd do this. My video cut off on my other tape that I made, my last one before this. And I found out how to keep that from happening. You put it on airplane mode and it won't do that. When somebody calls in, it cuts me off. And I'm just learning how to do this. So I got you on airplane mode so I ain't gonna worry about somebody calling in and cutting me off. But I'm gonna shoot this up there and I hope it helps somebody. It's so simple. Don't make it hard. Don't make it hard. Try to figure percentage, this, that, and other. And whatever day the new moon happens in, your Sabbaths will be on that day, 8 days from there, which will be 6 working days. You got your new moon worship day. Then you got your 6 work days, and you rest the 7th day. It'll be the 8th day of the month, that first one will, and so forth. That's just the way it is. That's the way they done it. And it's so simple. Like I say, a fool or wayfaring man can't err therein. You just got to listen, look up the definition, see what a new moon is, see what a day is. Till next time, may Yahweh bless you. Shalom.